Kupina kuphe emakhaya amadolobheni aseLkoplasta khona lapho kubuyela khona SABC 1. A warm welcome to this week's edition of Yilungelo Lakho. It's your ride. Sinilethela ke lihlelo lapho kuhamba phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Mina ke ngisimpiwe ngqondo. Bekunene Hulumende ke benati yini ukuthi uhlethi netimali leti ngemabhiliyoni emarandi tempension tebantfu labangatfolakali. So you or your relative could be a beneficiary of these unclaimed billions of rand. So all you have to do is to check if you are not on the track and trace list. Ukhuluma kabanti ke ngelihlelo ke la hulumende lekutfola ke banikati baleti imali tenpension letingakaklenywa asamukele ke tivakashi tethu sina Tracy Peters lomele ke i-Government Employees Pension Fund siphindze sibeke na Mac Liwele naye ke lochamuka ke GEPF. Very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
All right. Tracy, just briefly, what is the Pension Fund Act definition of unpaid benefits? What are we referring to as?
Right, Simpiwe. So if we're referring to unclaimed or unpaid benefits, it's basically where a member who has contributed to the pension fund has left. They've left their job, they've exited, and there are different reasons why they would have exited. And basically it would result in, if members has not been paid, then it would result in what we call unpaid or unclaimed benefits. We usually have a period attached to that, but I think for the purposes of this, we would just say that it is basically that members have not been paid. So the funds are sitting with us as the GEPF.
So when you talk of this period, what are you referring to as? A period of what? Does it mean that when that period you're mentioning has elapsed, then the funds purge?
No, not at all. Usually we will have a database so that where we draw the information from, and then it would be a period of 24 months after the member has left. But lately our technology has actually been updated, so those lists are actually available usually within 3 months after the member has exited, left the service, and if contributions have stopped. So basically we need then those members to actually come forward and claim their benefits.
Okay. Now, Meg, what's your opinion with regards to why people are not claiming their funds?
Well, good afternoon. There are varying reasons why people don't claim, because we assume and we think it's correct that everybody wants the money. But you find that mostly, especially of death benefits, of death cases, where the working person, which you call a member, dies and the family doesn't know what to do, or they don't know that they should be claiming, or they try, there are errors, and maybe they try even for the second time, the documents still come with errors, and the errors are many. I don't think we will have enough time for them, but it could be wrong bank account that then gets rejected. It could be that maybe they attach wrong things like ID and so on. And then when they need to, instead of correcting them, some people just simply get tired of it. And at times, it's not even only death benefits. It could be a person who has been working, the same issues of trying, not getting it right between them and the departments they need to ask. For example, you find that maybe you started to work in 1990. Up to now, you think you have maybe 33 years or so. But when we check, we don't argue that you have started to work in 1990, but you only started to contribute in 1995. So when you come to us, you have a higher calculation, we have a lower one because of the contribution period. So when we say, please fix this, and we send the forms back, some people still continue to fix with errors because they strongly believe they've started to work on a certain date. And then it goes back and so on. Others may have issues of SARS because you owe.
Yeah. But I think it's very important that we discuss these errors, because, you know, these people are watching this show right now and they've got unclaimed funds as a result of these errors, and they don't know that, you know, it's a result of these errors. What are some of the main ones?
The main ones are where I'm saying, in general, you can say the contribution period that you know and we know differ. You are understanding ours because we based on what we've been receiving from you from the first month since you started to work.
Yes.
Secondly, it could be that all of that is fine, but you send us a bank account that is perhaps dormant. When we try to pay into the bank, then the bank rejects that this account doesn't exist.
Okay.
And often, if it is, some people we hear, they will have cases of their employers. Some just walk away because they think the money is too small because, you know, for us, any amount, even if it's 10,000, is yours and we should pay you. But some people look...
Has that been those instances where people just leave the monies because it's too small?
Yeah, we hear so, because sometimes some people, you may be owing SARS maybe 22,000, but you have 10,000 of us. Or some people owe their own department. And
I know, I'll need that money to go and buy eggs. Because the way eggs are so expensive these days.
Definitely.
No, yes, I will claim my money also.
Yeah.
We encourage them to claim. We think it will be contributing to many things in the country if the money was in circulation in the economy. It also hurts us when we keep their money. We want to clear the house and pay everybody that we owe. So that often when it's death, it could be that it's not the member not claiming. As I said earlier, is someone dying, unfortunately it happens. And the members of the family don't know where to start. You know, they don't know that because it is said that we generally don't discuss these pension matters in our families. I believe I'm going to work until I retire, I hope. But then it happens, you die. And you thought you were going to claim, there's no need to discuss. But you're not going to claim because now you are dead. It should be the family. But they don't know. They don't know where to start. They're just happy to have someone from your work coming and speaking on the day of the funeral. And fine, we've been honored by that employer, but you have money with us. And the system is that the families must then go to the employer and say, can you help us claim our father, our son, our mother's money? The department knows what to do. They assist them. They send the money through the system to us, and we look into it and we process all the way to SARS until we pay you. So it's the errors in terms of things like period, is the errors when, it SARS issues where maybe someone owes them. And it's not a problem when you owe them. You just go and fix your matters with them. We'll send a message saying so. Go and fix your matters with them and then send it back and then we'll pay you.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Tracy, I want your perspective as well with regards to the issue of death. Like if a member did not nominate a beneficiary of the fund once he passes on, what then happens?
Right, in that instance, if a member has not nominated a beneficiary, that is where basically we actually need to rely on the HR department where the member was employed at for information that they can provide to us. And then also, if family members also come forward, those who were factually dependent on the, the main member, that is where we will take the information, and then also that is where we as the fund then have to apply our minds. And this is, for this reason, we actually want our members and encourage our members to complete these forms while they are still in service, while they're still alive.
But then how do you prove that these people who just spring out of nowhere are actually family members?
Look, obviously, they would, if they come forward, it can't just be someone who says, this was my father or this was my mother. They would actually have to give us significant proof to say that this was my parent, or perhaps if you were factually dependent, they need to give us proof that they were factually dependent on this person while they were still alive. So,
what is that proof in
it
particular?
would be affidavits, for instance, or if it's a child, a birth certificate. In that instance, it would be, even if it's an ID document, they would then they can give us affidavits from family members also just to back up the information that they are providing to us. And if perhaps the member was paying maintenance as well, that can also serve as proof. And the very last resort that we would go to, it would be where they would provide us with, factual dependency, but then also, they would go for blood tests and then provide us with paternity tests as well.
Right.
That would actually be the very last resort.
Okay. All right, got you. Okay, let's leave it there for now. We'll continue the discussion after the break. Please do join us after this break. Leli, Yilungelo, Lakho, don't go away. Sokwamele futhi ngibukile incingo tethu setivuliwe ukuthi nawe ungaba ingcenye yenkulumo yethu namhla ungashada icingo khona manje la e-studio ku-011 714 0669 noma ke 011 714 0670 ungasithumela futhi ne-WhatsApp ku-060 844 9857 ngiyo ke inombolo ye-WhatsApp leyo 060 844 9857. You can also email your views and your thoughts your questions perhaps to consumer@sabc.co.za. Uphinde usithole futhi na ku-Facebook. Khumbula ke mbukeli ukuthi today's program is brought to you in partnership with the Government Employees Pension Fund. Namhla ke sikhuluma ngako kona lokho, the Government Employees Pension Fund. Ukuthi ke nangabe ke usisebenzi sahulumende noma ke unesihlobo losatiko noma ke lesisebenzi sahulumende with unclaimed pension funds, this is the show for you. Make sure that you tune in and be well versed about all the ins and outs of the GEPF and in particular those with unclaimed funds. I want us to touch on, to continue our conversation with regards to the issue around death. Kuthi ke nangabe ke khona ke member who did not nominate a beneficiary, and the beneficiaries who are family members don't actually know that there is unclaimed funds. What then happens there?
We encourage them that if your parent, your son, daughter worked for government, they passed on, you need to go to their employer where they used to work and tell them to assist you to claim for the pension of your parent or your child if you are the mother or the father. And then they will assist you with that process. But also we know that some people may not be watching this and this happened to them, or may not even know about this, maybe too old, especially if the working people die, be it a mother or a father. There are small children and very old grandparents. So we're saying anybody in the community, if you are a responsible citizen, we live in a community, I know that Mac used to work for this department in government, he lives there. I see the family, the lifestyle seems to have changed, the kids are out of school and so on. You can go in there and say, I realize things don't seem to be the way they used to be. Did you know that you can go and check for your mother, your father's pension, where they used to work? This is how it happens. Go to the department where they used to work. If you can go to GPF straight and they will assist you. So we're saying while we're looking for our beneficiaries, we're also asking those people with the privilege of information to assist, to alert such families to come and check with us or with the employer.
Yes.
Now, Tracy, this is a very thorny issue, I'm afraid. And what's the ratio of claimed versus unclaimed benefits?
We do actually have stats that is released on a quarterly basis. And also there's reports that actually goes out. And that's where we also use the media to, to alert beneficiaries. The lists are also made available. We actually have booklets that are printed. So when we do our campaigns, this is also where we hand out this information. And besides the use of tracing companies, this is also where, when we do our campaigns out there, we go into communities, we have regular GPF days, we have retirement member campaigns. As client liaison officers, there are presentations that are also done, educational sessions as well, just to educate. But this is also where we will have a representative from the particular section that is called unclaimed or unpaid section, where they actually come with, with those lists, so that if there is beneficiaries that do come to those, they attend those events, that they can actually come and check. And see whether they are beneficiaries. In the event that they do not know, that's where, as Mac has indicated, where we actually rely on the community, also maybe family members or people who are employed within the department that can perhaps advise, specifically if there are younger children, minor children, or sometimes we find that even spouses are not aware that they can actually qualify for pension benefits.
But what's the fund doing then in terms of sensitizing the members, in particular the government employees of this particular fund, so that they don't find themselves in such a situation?
Yes, maybe before I come to that, if I can just add on the ratio part,
sure.
that look, we have anybody that we don't pay is one member too much for us. We want to pay everybody, whether it's a member or a beneficiary. But we pay a whole lot of people on time. Just in the previous financial year, we paid about 96% of our members on time within the 60 days that is regulated. And secondly, just by manner of size or stats, last financial year we paid about 135.4 billion rand. So a majority of people get paid. There are people where we have these difficulties and they matter, want to find them, but the ratio, I can say, is not comparable, but it is still important that we find these people. But the question about what are we doing to create awareness is that we run a whole lot of media campaigns. I'll just mention the SABC for today. That's why we're having this.
Sure.
But we also have an outreach program, and it's very, very big, our outreach program. We have a mobile offices that go to deep areas where we don't have offices. We have co-locations where we know that maybe we're not able to put up an office, but we ask a sister department to accommodate us, where they were serving our members, and people tend to go to one place to find services from us and other departments. On the outreach program, we also have what Tracy mentioned, the GPF day. On the Saturdays, we do this every month, sometimes twice a month in various locations across the country.
Okay.
We have something we call retirement member campaign, where we're preparing those who are about to retire, so that we tell them the processes to avoid these errors, we educate them. And some places where we meet with our counterparts in the departments, again, working together to try and eliminate the errors. And we work with coming back to the community matters. We also work with what is called the community development workers, those colleagues who work for other sister departments, but they work within communities on any matter of government. So we tap into them also. We meet them every month to share the list that Tracy mentioned that. And the list is designed per province. So if you are coming to Gauteng or Eastern Cape, Northwest, we go there and say, in the Northwest, these are the people that we're looking for. And we're able to see even the district. So we have a whole lot of outreach program, you know, using media also, the consultations by our colleagues who go to departments to talk to members. We go to make presentations in the departments, especially the big ones like your education, SNDF and so on, correctional services, because they're huge. Some of them are away from big towns and so on. So we run those, and we hope that everyone will help us get these members. But also importantly, to do things right to an extent that we avoid or reduce these errors, because that's where it starts. That pension should be important, should be discussed. It's not something you look at when you exit. You should, you know, talk about it, update
While you're still in the government system,
and update your personal details. Often we go in, I'm 22, start to work. Who would you want us to pay when you die? My mother and my father. I have child 1, child 2, child 5. I get married. My form still says my mother and father, and maybe they're even dead now. I have Tracy as my wife and children. They're not there because I think I'm going to live until I retire, but death happens. So we're asking our people members to update their personal details. Tell us, so the moment you have a child, add that child. Or anybody who's your dependent, add them. If you are the parent and they die, remove them. Put that percentage on someone else.
So in addition to the errors, are the systems user-friendly? I mean, put simply, will my grandmother or grandfather or my elderly parents be able to use those systems in terms of claiming their funds without any assistance?
Yes, definitely. We would like to, have the systems are actually quite user-friendly. And in terms of the claiming process, if the member has, the main contributing member has died in service, that's where our HR officials within the respective departments, that is where their role, comes in to assist those family members in completing the documents. And then, with that as well, that is where we have client liaison officers that is responsible for various departments. They have portfolios that are assigned to them, sort of like a cluster of departments. So that is where they also come into play, basically to assist family members to complete the documents, make sure that the correct documents are completed, the correct attachments are also submitted as well. So that we know that when the documents comes to us for processing, that we actually have everything that is needed in order for us to make payment.
All right, let's leave it there for now. Mbukeli sibambe khona lapho sibuyele ngasetitolo. Hlala kanye nathi ungasanyakati leli lungelo lakho. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Our participation lines are still open. Ungashayela ucingo khona manje ku-011-714-0669 or 011-714-067. You can send us a WhatsApp to 060-844-9857. That's our WhatsApp number. Or you can interact with us on our Facebook page. And remember, today's program is powered by the Government Employees Pension Fund. There will be more pension fund episodes in the coming weeks. Now, Tracy, I want us to talk about, just to pick up on the point that you made about
Yes.
the seamless nature of the claiming process of the GEPF. And I do understand that even if you are in the far-flung or the rural areas, you don't necessarily have to go to the GEPF head office to claim, but you can go to the nearest school, right?
That's correct. Simpiwe, if we're looking at, for instance, someone who's living in a rural area and they were, perhaps the main member was a teacher, as an example, or perhaps working at a hospital, they can actually go to the nearest hospital or the nearest school, go and submit those documents, and they then have their own processes whereby the documents will then go to a central point, and then from there, the documents are no longer sent to us manually. They actually have an online system that we have created for HR employers for them to submit the documents electronically. So the process, yes, it is.
So you mean this, the hospital or the schools does have those online processes?
Not necessarily the hospital or schools, but from the hospital or the school where they accept the documentation from whoever is submitting it, for instance, a beneficiary or a nominee, they then will send it to a central point where documents are captured. And those documents are then captured on an electronic system. It's an online system where the documents comes to us electronically.
Right.
It is no longer submitted, via snail mail or through post, etc. Where documents could have gotten lost. So we have created that system, and it's called the Pension Case Management System.
Good stuff, good stuff. All right, let's take our first caller. Nomzamo lapha eThekwini. Sakumule ehleleni sawubona? Nomzamo eThekwini sakumule.
Hello.
Nomzamo eThekwini sakumule ehleleni sawubona?
Yebo sawubona baba.
Kunjani mama?
Siyaphila njani?
Siphilile mama. Khuluma nathi mama.
Yebo.
Khuluma nathi
Yebo,
mama.
sawubona bhuti.
What's on your mind? Yeah, khuluma nathi siyakuva mama.
Yebo baba.
Okay mama, ngicela ukuthi ucime iTV yakho khona sitokuva kahle ngoba asikuva.
Ama offices e-GEPF.
Okay, sicela uphinze umbuto wakho mama.
Ngicishile kodwa kunomsindo khona on your side.
Okay, sesiyakuva manje. Ungawuphinza
Okay.
umbuto. Yeah, sesiyakuva. It's now perfect. So ungawuphinza umbuto wakho mama.
All right. Ebengifuna ukusho kule
Yeah, chubeka mama silalela.
yebo. Mina bengifuna ukusho ukuthi thina kufamily yethu like ubaba wethu never mentioned or he mentioned ukuthi wayesebenzela ugovernment. But ngalezo ikhathi lezo kwakukhona ama-TBVC states. So when kuza national government, all those departments manje are measured to GEPF. So I would like ukuthi uma nisenza lama awareness campaigns ukuthi nibatshela abantu abenabantu abasebenza kuma-TBVC states ukuthi ama-monies asamova khona aya ku-GEPF. Thina nefamily yami we pursued imali zikababa until saze sayithola. Sathi uma sesihamba ama-claim forms kwi-GEPF sakwazi ukusizakala, and within a small space of time yabe imali isikhokhiwe.
Okay, Nomzamo, thank you so much for that. Siyabonga kakhulu ke kusishare ke story senu. I just want you to touch base on that, Mac, just pick up on that point.
Yeah, we're happy to hear that they were paid on time and the advice that she gives. But yes, the TBVC that she mentions, we remember we had the TBVC states.
What is that in particular?
It is what was called independent states. You are Transkei, Putazwana, Venda, Siskai, and also had self-governing territories. You are Luwaga, Zangul, and so on, KwaZulu. So in 1996, they were all meshed with democracy, one country, one government, one public service, and then therefore one government employees pension fund. They were merged with GPF into one. They were merged to create GPF rather, not with GPF, but to create GPF as a fund for all of them. But I must say, not everybody, there's some municipalities that still have their own pension funds, but the majority of public service people are with us. And indeed, people can check directly with us. If at the time you worked for health, it doesn't matter if it has now in the new dispensation changed the name to health and any other something, or arts and culture or labor, whatever. It doesn't matter the name. If you were a teacher, you are a nurse, you can just go to your department or directly to us to check. And again, I should mention that people should not be disappointed. At times, during the transition, there were people who actually claimed for their money, and they were paid, and they opted to restart their service. So if your parents started to work in 1960, when you come in 2023, you may find that in 1996, 97 or so, or 94 even, they actually claimed their money and restarted their process. So, but our records will show. But it is true what she says, that don't go around looking for TBVC state because it doesn't exist anymore. You can come directly to us, or you can go to health, because if it was health, it was health. It doesn't matter if the name has slightly changed. Health is health, education is education, and all other departments. So they must check with their employers or directly with us. Because you shouldn't be lost by the fact that now there's no longer Transkei or vendor. It's Sky. You should still go to a government department that your parent, your uncle, your mother, grandparent worked at, and will assist because we have the records.
Many thanks to Nomzamo Kasebonga and just opening our eyes to these issues. Now let's talk about the nomination form, Tracy. What is it and how does it work?
Right, firstly, the nomination form is specifically for payment of pension for the GEPF, because remember, we are a defined pension fund, defined pension benefit fund, all right? So we do not pay according to wills, and that is what we also preach to our members when we do our outreach programs as well. Yes, we do not pay according to wills. This form is specifically for the payment and the distribution of your pension benefits for the GEPF members. So that is the form, and basically, while a member is still in service, and that is what we've referred to earlier, we would like, and we do encourage our members to complete that while they are in service, but also ensure that it is kept updated, because circumstances change. Mac mentioned earlier, you first started working, you nominated your parents, later you get married, you have children, etc. Or, life changes, circumstances changes. So we would like, make our members to ensure that they provide us with the latest information, the latest ID documents of the beneficiaries, birth certificates where that is applicable as well. Make sure that we have the correct addresses, contact details as well, which is very important, because when a member passes away, and we have lack of information, that is also where we also run into some, issues, or where it can cause delays as well in terms of payment. And often we find that members will go to the media, or members will say, I haven't been paid, or beneficiaries will complain and say, payment is taking long. But then it could be that there is perhaps some information that is missing or outstanding, and we were unable to contact those beneficiaries. So it is really, really important that those forms are kept updated and that we have the very latest information on our records.
No, I want you to share more details about the fact that you don't pay according to wills, but please hold your thought, because we need to take a break now. Let's take another commercial break. Don't go away. Khumbula ukuthi lihlelo lethu namhla silethela-ke sibambisene nebe-Government Employees Pension Fund, GEPF, and you can take part in today's discussion by calling us on the numbers on your screens right now. There are your numbers: 0110-714-0669, noma-ke 011-714-0670. Once you futhi ne-email, you can also send your WhatsApp number to ask questions or share your thoughts, or maybe just share your experiences with regards to claiming from the GEPF. Now, Tracy, I want us to continue on the discussion where you mentioned the will, that you don't pay according to will. So if I'm a member and God forbid I die, and I've stipulated in my will that 50% of the GEPF funds go to my wife and 50% go to my kids, for instance. So
Yes.
when you say you don't pay according to a will, what do you mean by that?
All right, Simpiwe, first of all, I think we need to make sure that members understand that we are a defined pension benefit, all right? So we do not pay according to a will because we are governed by the Government Employees Pension Law. So that is why we have the nomination form. So the nomination form is basically our will for the payment of pension benefits, all right? So,
So the nomination form has the details of the beneficiaries
that's correct, yes.
and
that
how
is-
much is,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
how much is owed to each beneficiary.
So basically the members, that is why we say we want them to complete it while they are still in service. So they would allocate, they would basically tell us who their beneficiaries are and then allocate a percentage to those beneficiaries. And you can add as many beneficiaries as you'd like on that form as long as it adds up to 100%. You know, so
Okay.
you can make it 2% to each of them, 1%, 50%, 50%, it doesn't matter. We do not, we cannot prescribe to you how much, what is the percentage that you need to allocate to each of your beneficiaries, as long as it adds up to 100%.
Oh, got you.
In the absence of a nomination form, we then have to rely on information from family members, from you know, who were dependents or who were dependent on the main member, and that is also where we will then also look at the HR officials where the member was employed as well. And
That's where it
we-
gets tricky, though.
That's where
because-
it becomes tricky.
Yeah, that's where it gets
yes.
tricky because if you approach the family members, then you don't know how much is due to who, you know?
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. And that's sometimes what also causes disputes as well. And that can also cause delays. So in order for us, you know, to avoid that, it is best for members to please complete those forms while they are in service and make sure that they are updated as
Isn't
well.
it mandatory, though, for all members to complete a nomination form?
Look, we wouldn't say it's mandatory, but the departments, I do know that they have regular campaigns where they send out communiques to their employees, to their staff to say, please update this forms. But we do still find that sometimes members will say, but I've updated this or I've completed this form 5 years ago, nothing has changed. You know, so we would still like to encourage members to make sure that those forms are updated. You cannot force someone to complete the form, but it just makes the process so much easier.
Easier, right,
Yes.
right. So if I'm not tax compliant, so for instance, I don't have a tax directive from SARS, is the funds taxable?
Yes, pension is taxable. Of course, there are rules about how we tax you, or how SARS, or not us, how SARS taxes you if you resign and if you retire, and of course, how much do you have anyway, the brackets and all of that count. But how it works is that because pension is taxed, when all the documents are correct, we agree on your period, we first, before we pay, because it's income, we have to get what we call tax directive. It's really another way to say tax instruction for SARS to take their tax. Everybody gets taxed with pension. And often we hear members saying, or pensioners saying, we're being taxed twice. I was taxed when I was working, now I'm being taxed. You are not taxed, we are not taxed twice. When you get paid every month, the portion that is put into your pension, if you will, account, and the one also that comes from an employer into your pension account is not taxed. That's why you are taxed later, so it's not double tax.
Kanzi, what is that PAE, pays you earn? Isn't that tax?
That is on the money that you get into your bank account. What goes into your pension is not taxed. So when the time comes now, we do the calculations, we all agree with you and your employer and GEPF. We have to go to SARS to get that tax instruction that we call tax directive. Then they will say, yeah, sure, everything's up to date. Here we're taking X amount. We're taking that and pay the member the balance, and then we pay that. But if you have an outstanding case with them where maybe returns were not done or they were done, you were supposed to pay them something, then they'll decline it. They'll say the member needs to come and update their staff with us. And we'll send that message, and you need to go and update that. Because you are not necessarily taxed by us, you are taxed by SARS, and it's the law of the country anyway, and most countries, if not all countries.
Sure.
So that's how it works.
And then if a member is deceased and you find that there's outstanding SARS issues, what then happens?
No, the arrangements can be made with the beneficiaries if the member is deceased, can be made, because now the people who are getting the money is no longer that person is these beneficiaries.
Okay. So what should a member do then in the event of non-payment of their funds, or delayed payments, as it were?
All right, let's go to, first of all, delayed payments. We obviously have to look at the reasons why there are delayed payments.
Yeah.
It could be that, there perhaps was a process delay at the department, first of all, or perhaps the member delayed in submitting their documentation. If there is a delay with us, they can inquire with us as well. There could be reasons for that. For instance, if a member, got divorced, and there is a portion of the pension that needs to be paid to the ex-spouse. Sometimes that can cause a delay, because in that instance, we would have to then obtain documents from the ex-spouse first, because the ex-spouse needs to be paid, and then we have to pay the main member. Sometimes there is errors that are made by the department, for instance, and then we have to return those documents, wait for them to submit feedback, and then we can continue. That can also cause, a delay. And then one other thing I'd like to also just mention, one of the biggest reasons why sometimes we find that there are delays as well is, for instance, if members' banking details are not updated, because we do validations on that, and then also home affairs validations. If surnames has changed, initials, etc., if they don't correspond with what is at home affairs, those are some of the validations or the causes of delays that can, ultimately cause delay in terms of payment as well.
Some members keep the nomination details, or the nomination of beneficiary details, very private, well, for personal reasons that I won't get into.
Of course, yes.
And is there, as a beneficiary, is there a way of accessing the GEPF portal or systems to see if I'm a beneficiary or not?
Unfortunately, the self-service portal can only be accessed by the main contributing member, because obviously you have to enter your ID number, and it is linked to your cell phone number, because OTPs are sent. So if you are a beneficiary, you would not be able to go and see whether, my father is, for instance, he's working, he's a government employee. Can I see whether he's nominated me? No, you're not able to see that. So that is a member's prerogative, whether they are going to reveal that information to their children or to the beneficiaries, and also from our side as well, because we would not be able to give that information to beneficiaries either. It's only upon the death or demise of a member that we will then, where the department will then have to obtain the information from them or from our side as well.
Yeah.
But let me add there that as much as that your business is between you and us, the fund is very responsible, corporate, if I may call it that. We don't encourage any member pensioner to deliberately leave out a dependent. If for any anger or any reason you wake up, want to remove this child who's actually your dependent, and the mother or the father even comes and say, this child was dependent on this person and now it's not there, we're going to have to do investigations, what Tracy alluded to earlier on, and especially if the member is dead. If they are alive, there's nothing, it's your money, because remember,
So
when you are...
do investigations?
Yes, to say, is it true that this child is a dependent of this person?
Okay.
And we're going to do all the things that Tracy mentioned. That
So who do you ask if it's true that this person is a dependent or not?
We are going to need evidence. So she mentioned earlier, for example, if there was maintenance paid or school fees, the child was dependent on you for their day-to-day upkeep. Therefore, it can't be that when you die, now they don't get anything. Who's going to look after them?
Yes.
So the rules allow the board, if they have all reasons that prove that this child is a dependent, to actually amend within the law your nomination form, because then we cannot now throw this child into charity when the parent actually has left some money. So there's nothing wrong with you if you don't want to discuss. We encourage people to discuss these things with family, but if you don't want to discuss, it's your case, it's up to you. But you cannot deliberately leave out someone else.
So basically communications between GEPF and the beneficiary start upon the member's death?
Yes, because remember, it's your account, if I may call it that, it's your account, and it is between you and us. So you only, people who engage the beneficiaries upon especially during death, if you die. Because if you retire or resign, you take your money, resign, you also take your money, we pay you monthly pension, unless you die before 5 years, within 5 years after retirement, there's no need for us to engage a beneficiary. If you decide to give now your beneficiary's actual cash, that's your business, we're not there.
Okay, no, let's leave it there for now. Please hold your thoughts. We'll continue our conversation in just a moment. Asithathe ikhefule vele kugcina ke bekunene sihlangane nasibuya etitolo. Do join us after this break. Leli Yilungelo Lakho, don't go away. Welcome to a very final segment. Now, Mac, I want us to talk about some of the documentation that the members need to submit, just to make sure that there's no delays in the issuing out or the payouts of these benefits.
Yes, the documents we mentioned earlier is your ID, your bank form, and so on. But most importantly, to address the delay issue due to time, is that we generally recommend that our members must submit their documents within 6 months prior to their date of exit. That allows us to check for the errors we mentioned earlier. If there are errors, we're able to correct them on time while we are still working, and then we correct them and we pack it, we call it too early to pay. Everything's okay, we're just waiting for your day to exit. And with some people who do that, we are able to pay them within a few days after they've left, as we are able to pay them. So we encourage that. But also we are saying it is not a norm that the pension is delayed, therefore must save or take credit and allow for another 6 months before I can be paid. So the moment you exit, we encourage you to immediately inquire with your department of us to say, GPF, have you received my forms? So that if we have not received, you can go back and say, GPF says they don't have my forms, what are you doing with them? Because I've given you everything. So we want that active participation by the members to check with their department, with us, and if we don't have them within a week or two, I'll say that your department is wrong because there's nothing they're doing with them. You've given them everything. They're not sending them by post or by truck, they're sending them electronically, as Tracy mentioned earlier.
You know, there's this conception or a misconception, as it were, that if I work for the municipality, I work for the government, therefore I'm automatically entitled to claiming from GEPF. Can you take us into your confidence, or rather share with us the distinction between the government departments that are participating in the GEPF and some of the departments under the municipalities, perhaps?
Right, Simpiwe, the government employees pension fund is basically for those who are employed under, specific acts. So you do have municipalities. We have a small number of members that still contribute. Maybe back then their contract allowed them to stay, but majority of them actually took their, they took their pension and transferred it to the municipality's pension fund, and they have their own pension fund that they contribute towards. You also have some entities that are affiliated with government that might not also be participating members to the government employees pension fund. So it's not automatic. We do often get those questions. I know some people will ask, my father worked for Telkom back then, for instance, as an example. They also are not participating employers to the GEPF. So it doesn't mean that at government, if you are a government employee or a government department at government level, that it is automatic that they contribute to the government employees pension fund.
Which means not all government departments are eligible to benefit from the GEPF.
We wouldn't say that they are not eligible, but it depends if they are contributing employers to the GEPF. If they have, some departments actually give their members a choice, if there are entities or if they have more than one pension fund. So then some of their members actually have a choice whether they want to contribute to the GEPF or if they have other pension funds that is available. And that is based on the service level agreements with the employer or their service conditions.
Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, we don't want to sound as if we're saying there are some people who work for government and they don't have pension benefit. There is. It's just that some of them maybe, I don't want to mention them, maybe contributing, the fund that they're under is pure pension fund, and other municipalities make pension fund that they contribute to. So I'm just making that distinction, but they have benefits. And ordinarily when you work, your pay slip and other sessions held by your employer, you can see that our pension goes to A or B or C pension fund. But we're just saying, especially for beneficiaries, for members who may not know because they don't work there, that not everybody will be working will be a member of GPF. And if you come to GPF, they say it's not of us. Don't walk away and say they've stolen my money. Go and ask your parent or your child's employer to say, where is the fund, the pension fund, where you are affiliated to. But generally, people have the benefit.
Okay.
It's just that of all the changes, as Tracy mentioned, not everybody is our member. Some have other funds.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with checking with us and we indicate that, yes, you're with us or you are not. So don't be worried or afraid that they will say, I'm taking chances. If you are not a member, we'll never pay you. Or you're a person that's not with us, will never pay you. So there's nothing wrong with checking with us. But most importantly, the employer, which fund did you use for my child's pension?
So briefly,
or my parents' pension?
We're out of time, unfortunately. So how is the payment process? Is it the same as the one afforded to a member? I mean, when it comes to the beneficiaries, is it the same as the member where they get a third, the third of the fund as a lump sum and then pay monthly?
Right, because it's a defined pension benefit, there is specific formulas that is applied based on the type of exit. So if it's a resignation, it would mean the main member would have resigned. There's a formula that is applied in order for us to pay.
Okay.
Right, and if it's a death case, for instance, you would have different circumstances under which the member had died. Was there a spouse? Was there beneficiaries? Was there a spouse plus beneficiaries, etc.? So then a formula is basically applied.
Okay,
it is not, I wouldn't say that it's not standard, but the standard formulas are there and it's written within the GEP law that guides us in terms of how payment needs to be made.
We're out of time, unfortunately. But Mac and Tracy, lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you for
having
the
us.
opportunity.
Alright, kwanyalo kumbukela sesifike emaphethelweni esihlelo lethu namhla sinesele-ke sibambisene ne-GEPF, i-Government Employees Pension Fund. Please look out for more such special episodes in the coming weeks. Let me thank our guests today for making time to be with us on the show. Ngithazabuka kanye nani ngebabukele ngekuba nathi kuze kube manje. Please do join us again next time for yet another consumer affairs discussion right here on SABC 1 Mzansi for sure and on SABC Plus. From me, Simpio Ngone, and the rest of the team that's inside Lakho, do have a great week ahead. Cheers.